Chapter 55. 9 Revolutions of the Jindan. This point of self-knowledge he still has. Kid, don't be impatient. You must know that you can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. The fact that the old man can't break it doesn't mean that you can't break it either. Not to mention that you don't need to break this prohibition at all. As long as you fetch the fruit of the earth's yin in it, it will be fine, Emperor Dan said with a smile. Kang Qian's eyes lit up when he heard this. Since Emperor Dan said this, then there is a ray of hope. But he still asked, what virtue and ability does the kid have to let your old man value are? Star absorbing technique. Dan Emperor said word by word. A trace of admiration flashed in his eyes as he said, although the star-absorbing grand technique is a devilish technique, its ability to penetrate the heavens and the earth has to be admired. With the devouring ability of the star-absorbing grand technique that sucks up nothing, it might be possible to open up a path from within the confines of this restriction to help you obtain the fruit of the earthly yin. Is the star-absorbing technique that powerful? Besides, kid, my current strength can't even utilize the full power of the star-absorbing grand technique. Kang Qian said with some skepticism. You kid, try to see, not know. Remember to find a place away from the fruit of the earth yin to try. As long as you can obtain a fruit of the earth yin is your kid's good fortune. Emperor Dan laughed. When Kang Qian heard this, a wave of hope rose up and he probed towards the forbidden system in front of him. After searching for half a day, Kang Qian finally found the closest place to one of the earthly yin fruits. This is it. Kang Qian looked at the fruit of earthly yin that was about 80 paces away from him and silently recited God's blessing in his heart. Even though this ghostly god had often abandoned him, he still held a glimmer of hope. Star-absorbing technique. Taking a deep breath, Kang Qian operated the star-absorbing grand technique. The true qi in his body rushed around, and along one of his palms emerged a strong demonic qi, and his palms became pitch black and palpitating in appearance. Kang Qian slowly pointed this dark palm at the forbidden system. A snorting sound came out. The forbidden system in front of him was like ice meeting fire, slowly being melted away. There is a door. When Kang Qian saw this, he couldn't help but rejoice. In the pool of water, Kang Qian operated the star-absorbing technique to open up a path out from amongst the prohibitions in front of him. As he slowly advanced, step by step, towards the root of earthly yin. The speed was slow, but it was undoubtedly very effective. The star-absorbing grand technique was worthy of being a supreme demonic technique. It was the nemesis of almost all energies. Even if this prohibition was so powerful, it would be hard to escape being devoured by the star-absorbing grand technique. Kang Qian drummed his body's true qi and gathered it in his palm in an unending stream, utilizing the devouring ability of the star-absorbing grand technique to corrode the power of the prohibition step by step, gradually stepping forward. 70 steps, 50 steps, 30 steps, as the distance to the earthly yin root continued to approach. Kang Qian's eyes revealed a look of excitement. The earthly yin fruit was right in front of his eyes, and he would be able to fetch it in a short while. However, running the star-absorbing technique for such a long period of time, the consumption of true qi in Kang Qian's body was very great. At this moment, he was already drenched in sweat, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. Advancing another 10 steps, the cold sweat on Kang Qian's face was growing. The true qi in his body had already operated to its limit, and his Kang Qian hegemonic blood was beginning to boil, supporting the star-absorbing grand technique with all his might. Oops, the true qi is running out. When Kang Qian traveled 10 steps away from the root of earthly yin, the true qi in his body was completely exhausted, and he really couldn't continue. Kang Qian's face was full of unwillingness. He was only 10 steps away from the root of earthly yin. He didn't want to give up at this time. Kid, hold on. As long as you can obtain a fruit of earthly yin, anything is worth it, Emperor Dan encouraged. Kang Qian clenched his teeth. His eyes condensed, and a blazing purple light shot out from his eyes. penetrating through the layers of emptiness to that earthly yin fruit. Never give up. I still have to avenge Anti-King. I'll take this fruit of earthly yin. Not knowing where the power surged from, the purple light in Kang Chon's eyes flourished, and a surge of true qi unexpectedly gushed out of nowhere from the originally empty Danshan, following his movements, forming a morose pitch-black demonic qi in his palm. Accompanied by this sudden surge of thick true qi, Kang Chon took a series of steps of more than 10 meters and appeared in front of the root of earthly yin. This is, when appearing in front of the root of earthly yin, Kang Chon also naturally saw the corpse within the blood coffin. His eyes instantly shrunk, his gaze filled with incredulity, only to see that within the blood coffin there lay a zombie with red hair all over its body. Its face was hideous. Its eyes were tightly closed, and its entire face looked sinister and extremely terrifying. This was a very terrifying zombie. Kang Chon had a feeling of suffocation when he stood near the blood coffin. Drought demon. Surprisingly, it's a drought demon. Boy, don't move this blood coffin, or else all the people within a 1,000-mile radius will be devastated. The Dan Emperor inside Kang Chon also couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air and exclaimed, in shock, "Elder Dan, what is a drought demon? Is this zombie very powerful?" Kang Chon asked with some trepidation. His intuition told him that this zombie was very powerful, as he had a feeling that his heart was pounding just by looking at this zombie. Of course it's powerful. The old man wasn't even a match for it in his heyday. Emperor Dan said with some palpitations. According to the division of the cultivation world, zombies are divided into 7 levels: white zombie, black zombie, green zombie, silver zombie, gold zombie, drought demon, and zombie immortal, of which white zombie is equivalent to a cultivator of the foundation establishment stage. Black zombie is the zombie that possesses the strength of the Jindan stage, and green is even more terrifying, with the strength that compares to that of the ushering stage. Of course, the silver corpse and the gold corpse are the most terrifying, equivalent to the out-of-body stage and the divine separation stage of the supreme powerhouse. Except that these 2 types of zombies are very rare in the cultivation world and are very difficult to meet. Kang Chon couldn't help but have an eye-opening experience when he heard this. He hadn't thought that there were so many types of zombies to divide them into. It seemed that he was still a small white man in the cultivation world now, and there was still a lot of things that he needed to learn. Luckily, having Dan Huang by his side saved him a lot of trouble. It could truly be said that there is an old man in the family. If there is a treasure, then what is this drought demon? Kang Chon continued to ask without shame. This is somewhat of a long story. Emperor Dan mused for a moment and continued. In fact, reaching this level of golden corpse is already considered to be the top level of zombies, while the drought demon is the legendary true ancestor of zombies. And only when some powerful deities die, their flesh can become an existence at the level of a true ancestor of zombies, such as the drought demon. Moreover, the chances of giving birth to a drought demon are too low, needing heaven and earth and people and all of them, plus a great deal of luck. It is possible to give birth to a drought demon. In the old man's impression, has not yet seen a drought demon's true body. There are only a few legends about the drought demon. Legend has it that when the drought demon comes out, the red earth will be 1,000 miles away, and the living beings within 1,000 miles of the area will be extinct. It is really an ominous thing. Kang Chon listened to his heart shocked. This drought demon's origin is so. The gods are the existence of legends. He never thought that the world really has a god exists. Today is truly an eye-opener. It's the first time in my life that I've seen a drought demon in its true form. Emperor Dan was a little excited and continued to say to Kang Chon, "This drought demon is 3 corpses in one, which are fire drought demon, dry drought demon, and dry drought demon. Only the 3 corpses in one can evolve into the legendary corpse immortal. Once it becomes a corpse immortal, This guy has the qualification of ascending to the divine throne again, and his achievements will be unlimited in the future. Then which one of the three corpses is this zombie? And what is the strength of a corpse immortal? Kang Chon couldn't help but be a little curious. This is the fire drought demon. You can tell by looking at its reddish hair all over. While the dry drought demon and the dry drought demon remain the same as they were before they were born, they are not so scary. They don't even look like zombies. They are the same as normal people, and they are very powerful. Each one is no worse than the old man in his heyday. If the three corpses were to unite and become a corpse immortal, it would be an invincible existence in the flood continent, and no one would be able to do anything about it unless an immortal descended to Earth. Emperor Dan said. So strong. Kang Chon was shocked at his words. Invincible in the flood continent. He finally understood why Dan Huang was so excited. This zombie in front of him was simply synonymous with terrifying awe. Kid, go get the fruit of earthly yin. Be careful not to startle this guy. Emperor Dan reminded. Kang Chon then remembered his purpose of coming here and hurriedly grabbed towards the nearest fruit of earthly yin. Because of the sudden eruption of power in the Danshan within his body, he was much closer to the root of earthly yin. So he was able to collect several more fruits of earthly yin. You're it. Kang Chon grabbed towards an earthly yin fruit, his eyes flashing with excitement. Boom. The moment he grabbed this earthly yin fruit, Kang Chon seemed to feel a tremor, but it immediately disappeared, making him think that it was an illusion. Thus, he continued to grab towards the second fruit of earthly yin. Rumble. This time, it was definitely not an illusion, as the second fruit of earthly yin was grasped by Kang Chon. The entire pool instantly shook violently, and that blood coffin was even more filled with an explosion of yin qi, with a sinister aura pervading the entire within the restriction. Kid, get out of here. Emperor Dan's anxious voice resounded in his mind. In fact, he didn't need to be reminded. Kang Chon had already sensed that something was wrong, and he grabbed the two fruits of earthly yin and hurriedly retreated backwards. After he left, a thick blood mist rushed out from the blood coffin, enveloping the entire earthly yin root, and all the earthly yin fruits emitted a piercing light at this time, as a pure energy converged towards the blood coffin. Outside the pool, Kang Chon, who had already withdrawn long ago, watched this scene in shock, his heart pounding. In the underground cave, after Kang Chon obtained the two earthly yin's fruits, the blood coffin suddenly erupted with a morose blood-colored mist, enveloping the entire earthly yin's root, which then covered the inside of the restriction. Kang Chon watched this scene with some trepidation, but unfortunately, the pool was covered by this bloody mist, and he could no longer see the scene within the forbidden system, and a wave of worry could not help but rise in his heart. It couldn't be that would be zombie awakening. Kang Chon was unsure in his heart. He hurriedly retreated to the side of the doorway, with a gloomy face, ready to escape at any time. This fire drought demon was not something he could deal with right now. The other party could destroy him by blowing a breath. Kid, don't worry. This guy is not at the point of awakening right now, but that fruit of earthly yin can't be taken anymore. Otherwise this guy will really awaken early. Emperor Dan's voice came out. Kang Chon heard some inquiries and realized that this earth yin's root was deliberately planted here by someone in order to cultivate the drought demon using the earth yin's fruit supreme yin qi. Just now, he picked two of the fruits of earthly yin, and the drought demon had sensed it, which was why he released the blood mist to protect the root of earthly yin. What kind of person would have such a stroke of genius to dare cultivate the fire drought demon? Kang Chon was shocked in his heart. He felt as if he had inadvertently bumped into some shocking secret. Since the other party dared to cultivate the fire drought demon, their strength was definitely through the roof. Kid, don't think too much. Hurry up and refine the fruit of earthly yin to raise your cultivation level. Don't mind what's going on here, and don't come back to this place in the future. Emperor Dan reminded. although he was also very curious as to who was cultivating the fire drought demon. But with Kang Chon's current cultivation level, he was obviously not qualified to come into contact with this, and getting excessively caught up in it would only be suicidal. As Dan Emperor's words fell, a sound of footsteps came from the doorway. It was Wang Tixiong and Xiaojin anxiously rushing over. They had just heard the commotion coming from the pool and were very worried about Kang Chon's safety. "Shona, what in the world has happened here?" Wang Tixiong couldn't help but be dumbstruck when he saw the blood mist filling the pool. Xiaojin, on the other hand, deadened his nose and stared at the two fruits of earthly yin in Kang Chon's hands with two eyes bubbling with light. His gaze filled with the color of longing, he looked blearily at Kang Chon,